educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for coming on today. I appreciate you for listening today. I have a wonderful guest, a powerful guest, and one that's going to make us think about what is the real key to success. But wait a minute, before we get into all that, he is the owner of Balbert Marketing, LLC. He is also the curator of the Real Business Connections Network, where he hosts 5 podcasts. Y'all talk about me hosting 3, but he has 5 podcasts, and he's Rochester Business Connections, Learn, Speak, Teach, Ben's Bites, 5-Minute Fridays, and Real Hits. And once, an underdog, now a successful entrepreneur. And one of the things that I believe that we can all relate to is that when we feel like we hit rock bottom, and this gentleman, he really hit rock bottom. And so maybe we'll get into a little bit of his story. Maybe we'll just direct you to his website, a little later on. But I introduce to you Ben Albert. Ben, thank you very much for coming on today.
I appreciate you having me. This is going to be fun, Maurice. Our green room chat, proverbial green room, was a ton of fun. So yes. I know this is going to be a great conversation.
Right. And I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So here's the question. And you and I, we talked about it in the green room. What is a definition of real success? Or what is what's the definition of success? And then we'll get into what maybe is the key to success. So what's your definition of success?
Definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
Now, success cannot be defined.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nuanced because how do you define, you can have external metrics like this kind of family, this kind of job, but in my opinion, we should all over each other all the time. You should do this. You should do that. This is what success looks like. Why do you think they take our fingerprint when we get in trouble? They take our fingerprint because we all have a unique fingerprint. We all have a unique DNA code. So my success might be different than your success.
Right.
So I actually think success is impossible to define. For me, it's achieving as much as possible based on my goals, my vision, my values. It's achieving as much as possible in the least amount of time and feeling the most fulfillment while doing it. All of those are nuanced. There isn't a metric. But I want to achieve as much as God allows me to in the time I have, hopefully as quick as possible. Success does reward speed, but I want to achieve as much as I can as quickly as possible, but enjoy the heck out of doing it. Because I'll be the first one to admit, when I got let go, I got furloughed, and I started my career as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. I signed up for 80-hour work weeks. I've worked 100 hours in a week. I don't think that's success. I don't think grinding 100 hours a week the rest of my life is success. How can I create the impact I'm trying to make in less time, but love it? And like a fingerprint, it's going to be different for me than everybody else. And that's why you can't define success. You got to define it personally, but nobody can define it for you.
So before I get into the question of real success, right?
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, we're influenced by society, right?
We are.
Society says, hey, you know what? We need to have the Rolls, the Bentley, the Maybach, the Range Rover, the $3 million house, 20 acres of land, or, all these type of things that we constantly see from, every day as a place of success. Not understanding, as you're talking about, success actually comes from within. So how do we fight the temptation to be like everyone else and to follow the norms, the trends, all that type of stuff to lead to success for us?
Yeah, it's a toughie. You even use the word fight because it's fight and it's temptation and struggle and fighting. Struggle's not fun. Fighting's not fun. Honestly, in my opinion, get the Rolls, get the Bentley, get the Gucci, and are you happy?
Right.
Are you fulfilled? Are you lit up? Are you only lighting up because there's a camera in your hand and you're pretending to be happy so you could look good on social media? The end of the day, when there's no camera on, when it's just you and yourself, are you happy? Does your family love you? Are you spending time with the people your family
Right.
does love you, but do they like you? Those are more important. So I'm not saying don't get the Gooch. I'm not saying don't get the Bentley, but ask yourself the question, now that I have this, am I any happier? And did I enjoy the journey and process to get here? Or did I did I fight and beat people up and step on toes to get here?
Right.
Because the most successful people are usually, there's scammers out there, but the most successful people who are ethical are helping the most people. So if you want those things, amen to that.
Right.
But you're going to have to help people to get there, or else, I mean, there's a lot of fraudsters online. I'm kind of on a soapbox, but you get on Instagram, you're going to find a lot of fraudsters that are pretending to be successful, but they're just trying to manipulate you for a quick buck.
So one of the things that you keep mentioning is the journey.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't enjoy the journey because, again, we think that the end point is the house, right? And not understanding that the end point really is the journey. So how would you encourage someone to enjoy the journey? Because I think that's the part of the success. It's just learning and overcoming hurdles and then celebrating little, the little hurdles that you have overcome, just those little celebration moments. So how would you encourage someone to constantly stay in that space?
Yeah, and a lot of this is mindset. So I hope your listeners on board with this. It's nuanced, but I'll keep it real simple for everyone. And this is similar. We were joking about this in the green room. We were joking about the key to success, and I'll send you the picture because it's not in front of me. But I just got a keychain. I got a keychain on my car, bunch of keys, right? And because everybody's got a key. Everybody has a magic pill. Everybody wants to tell you the key to success. I have a keychain, and the keychain says there is no key. Now, it's a little tongue-in-cheek because there's obviously keys.
Right.
But it's to remind myself that there is not one key to success. If someone's overly prescriptive, saying this is the one and only way, step away, they're probably, I don't know, man, like everybody has different journeys. I don't think there's one specific way.
Right.
So I have that keychain, there is no key, to remind myself that there is no specific key. It's a combination lock. Similar to when you go to the gym and you have a padlock, you have your own unique combination, and nobody knows your specific combination because it's specific to you.
Right.
You can share it with people. You can be descriptive and give someone your combination, but you have a unique combination, as does everybody else. So you ask, how do you enjoy the journey? Become comfortable with the fact that there isn't one specific perfect answer. And when you realize that it's a combination, you're like, ooh, let's get curious and try to unlock the code.
Right.
And there might be cheat codes. There's ways to get there quicker. But at the end of the day, like if you give me a cheat code, I'm going to use it. But at the end of the day, the experience, the journey is being curious. It's learning from others. It's going back to school, like something you're doing. It's buying a coach's course online. It's going to YouTube University. It's reading a book.
Right.
It's going to be unique to you, but if you embrace the curiosity and the beauty of what we have here, what is life, it's like, okay, so success. My thought process nowadays, and I know this is very introspective, but I know I'm winning if I'm curious. I know I'm winning if I'm learning. If I learn something new today, and even better, if I help someone learn something new today, that's the journey I want to be on, and that's what I'm trying to do.
So, again, as we're looking at success, and as you stated, you're a marketer. So you're in you're in that space of marketing, advertising, building a brand. And sometimes we get caught up in what people are marketing on social media, you know. And again, as you said, scammers, frauds, things like that, fakers, if you will, you know, of what we see on social media. So how would you encourage someone to say, hey, if I put together this marketing plan, this could be a success, an idea of success where we're not so caught up in what someone else is doing, if you will.
Yeah, it's like the chicken and the egg. I say there's no key. That being said, someone who has obtained what you want. Let's say you want the Bentley, you want the Gucci, you want the perfect life. If someone has ethically obtained it, they have something they can teach you. So the first thing I would say is don't hire or learn from someone who isn't actually doing what you want. There's a lot of education out there, but if I'm in business and I'm hiring a business professional, I want to hire someone that's done what I'm trying to do, even if they're just 6 months ahead of me. If they're 6 months ahead of me and they can turn that 6 months into 6 hours, I want to learn how to get that 6 months condensed into 6 hours. So this is new to me. I'm not in bad shape. I'm actually probably in the best shape of my life because I just hired a personal trainer 4 months ago.
Okay.
He's shredded. He's a competitor. He's in way better shape than me because if I'm not trying to get as big as him, that would take me 10 years to get as in maybe I'm wrong, but it would take me a while to get as in shape as he is.
Right.
But since he's in just such good shape, I trust him to get me in better shape. So when you're putting together a marketing plan, do a little bit of research, be curious. Be like, I'm going to find my combination today. Look at the good marketers. Look at the business professionals. Look at the people you look up to and dissect what they're doing. Is there commonality? One commonality I see all the time, the great Zig Ziglar said it ages ago, the way to get what you want is to give others what they want. So it's like, okay, what do people want? And if I can give them it, I'll get what I want. So if you want to be a better marketer, figure out who your audience is and how to give them what they want. It's very basic advice, but it's like you find people that have accomplished what you're trying to do,
right?
And then you learn their playbook, knowing that all the best teams, all the best players, they know the playbook, but they'll audible the call if they need to. So if I can learn the playbook and audible the call,
right?
You think I'm going to be successful? I hope so. I think so.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh no, it makes total sense. So how in that, you know, because it's interesting that you talk about audible or shifting. You know, a lot of times we don't know how to shift very well. You know, where we have one thing in mind and not listening to maybe the feedback we're receiving. We don't try to implement, you know, whatever we're trying to accomplish or whatever else. So how important really is it to be able to pivot at any moment?
I mean, it's huge. I've mentioned personal training. It's a friend of mine because it's new to me. But my girlfriend was touching my shoulders the other day, and she's like, you got these humps and muscles in places I didn't even know you had muscles. And I'm like, I don't use those muscles in my daily life, so I guess I'm working them out. It's new. The thing is, the way to shift, the way to learn how to shift is to start shifting. If something's not being used, if a skill set's not being used, if a gift or talent is laying dormant, if it's in the corner and it's a what if, I hope, or maybe someday, maybe some days never become anything. So if you want to learn how to pivot, it's really simple. Do a pivot and be willing to get hurt and fail when you do the pivot. Because the more you pivot and the more you learn how to pivot when things get difficult, the better you get from pivoting. And the best time to pivot, this is one thing I always tell students to write down. Like we talked about this. I just talked to some college students at RIT the other day. I told them to write down to dig the well before you're thirsty. Dig the well before you're thirsty. The best time to learn how to pivot is before it happens. When the pandemic hit, we started to realize that the world needed more leaders because all these people were trying to figure out what to do. No one had a playbook for a pandemic.
Right.
But if you're learning how to handle disaster years prior, you're like, this is a disaster. I've never seen this before.
Right.
But I've pivoted before. So I'm going to pivot. And that's why a lot of businesses and leaders failed when others are thriving, is because some people were preparing for the worst and others had never pivoted. And then they tried to pivot and they hurt themselves.
So in pivoting, a lot of times, again, because we're talking about success and we're talking about trends, or I mentioned trends and things like that. And sometimes we tend to go back to what we feel comfortable in, right? Even if it wasn't successful the first time, so how would you consider, encourage someone to not fall backwards, but kind of fall forwards, because you had mentioned also about failing, right? Being, not being afraid to fail, so how would you encourage someone to fall forward instead of backwards?
First and foremost, nobody loves comfort more than I do. And I'm hard on myself. Sunday, specifically, Sunday, I used to order chicken wings. I make them great, so I'm making chicken wings.
Okay.
I'm watching football for 9 hours. I'm going to sit on the couch, and I'm going to be lazy. I embrace and I love comfort, and I realize that. And a lot of people would argue, Ben, you wasted a day just sitting around, and they actually might be right. But the reason I say that is no one loves comfort as much as I do. I love comfort. But one thing that I've rationalized and learned, whether I like it or not,
right?
You don't grow in comfort. Growth happens from adaptation. It happens from discomfort. Similar. This is such a. I like analogies. You can tell what kind of someone at home probably knows my personality type better than I do. I love analogies. So you've got a plan, and the sun's coming from one direction. What does the plan do? It starts shifting in that direction. I'm not a plan, but is it comfortable to shift? Is it comfortable to contort and move? Adaption is required to grow. So if you're comfortable, that's okay, but you're not going to grow in that comfort. You need to get uncomfortable to grow. It's that simple.
So even though you're talking, you're speaking about being lazy or comfortable or whatever it might be. Some people might read it into a number of different ways. But so for me, because I think of everything as being an opportunity, you sitting there for 9 hours and you're a marketer, what are you really paying attention to as a marketer? So are you paying attention to the commercials? Are you paying attention to the message? Are you paying attention to colors? Whatever it might be, right? And because of some commercials are outside the box, if you will, there are some that's kind of teetering, sanity, if you will. So I look at that as opportunity. So I try to encourage individuals to look at every moment as an opportunity. How about yourself?
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to give you the most specific example that I bet only one listener gets, but you can Google it, and I promise I'm a pain in the butt to watch sports with sometimes because of that. Like my brain goes, I like human psychology. I like human behavior. I like marketing. I've learned from body language experts. So my brain goes in a lot of different directions. And my whole life, I've been a Denver Broncos fan.
Oh, gosh.
One of the teams, does your team go against the Broncos?
Well, I'm actually a Tennessee Titan fan. Okay. So I used to like them when they were the Houston Oilers. So I'm a little older, so I kind of like that space. Even though I'm from Philly, so of course I love the Eagles, but but the Broncos, they're not bad. They can do a little bit better.
I want to be evergreen. Right now, the Broncos are crushing it. This will come out before the Super Bowl. Maybe we'll see a Eagles-Broncos Super Bowl. I guess we'll see what happens.
Right.
Possible. But the reason I bring up I'm a Bronco fan is twice a year we play the Chargers. And the Chargers, this is going back a few years, had a quarterback, Phillip Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
His stat sheet, what he looked like on paper, he was one of the best quarterbacks out there. He's very good. And the entire time he was with the team, they were competitive, and he had great numbers. But I started noticing something. When he got knocked down, he'd get pretty upset. When things didn't go his way, he looked a little rattled. And then you watch someone love him or hate him, a Tom Brady. Dude, I swear to God, you could sack that guy 3 times in a row. He's just going to throw a touchdown on the 4th.
Right,
So I started noticing how Phillip would get rattled. And this is why I'm a pain in the ass just to watch a game with, because they're just trying to have a beer and like talk stats. I know I'm a pain. But I noticed he got rattled, and I'm like, first off, Phillip Rivers is 100 times better at football than I'll ever be. He is better at what he did than I am at what I do. So I am not hating. He is way above me at his specialty.
Right.
I am humble enough to know he is one of the best of all time in his specialty. But he would get rattled, and he would grimace. He would make these looks. And I'm like, he's not going to win. He is not a Super Bowl champion, because when times get tough, he's too emotional. He's too rattled. And you just mentioned, moments being an opportunity. I'd watch a game, and part of why I like live events, I love music. I love music. I love sports. I love the theater. Part of why I love live events is they're just humans. They're doing extraordinary things.
Right.
But they're just humans. And I'd see him get rattled, and I'm like, the guy on the other team's not rattled. I'm betting on the guy that has the composure in this matchup. So that's a tangent. But
It actually wasn't. So based off of our time, Ben, where can someone reach out to you so they understand how to pivot, how to not get rattled, how to understand that, hey, you know what? I do have something else that I can look forward to as far as creating my real key of success. So where can they get that information from you?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to not get rattled, don't follow me. I'm rattled all the time. But first and foremost, I'm sure you already say it all the time, but I would not be here without your podcast, your opportunity, your grace, your show, your amazing audience. So if they haven't done it yet, and I'm sure most of them have, but if they haven't done it yet, click like, click subscribe, leave this gentleman a review, because I'm easy. You can find me where you found this. Just type in the words Real Business Connections, Real Business Connections, or you can just type it into the Google search bar and I'll come up. But the barrier to entry is show this gentleman some love, and then you can find me just by typing in the words Real Business Connections.
Ben, man, I appreciate it, man. I really, really appreciate it, bro. Now, quick question, though, before I let you go. My would you rather question. Would you rather choose a fork in the road or 3 doors?
A fork in the road or 3 doors? You just stumped me. I don't even know what that means. Fork in the world? I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I would rather choose, I don't even know if this is the purpose of the question, but I'd rather you choose a fork in the road because I can see a little bit. I don't always do well in uncertainty. If I've got 3 closed doors and I don't know what I'm walking into, I'm like nervous, like what's behind the door. I would choose the fork in the road because at least I have an idea of the direction I'm choosing. But I don't even. You stumped me on that. That's a good question. You got what? Do we have time for you to explain what that means?
Again, like you said about psychology and things like that, so it's just a question just to kind of see how people analyze the situation, and because I've asked this question for about 1.5 years now, almost 2 years, and you have people that's very analytical about it. People that, are looking at the odds from the numbers perspective. You got some people, like you said yourself, who wants to look down the road just a little bit. Some people actually want to look down. They want to look down the path, and then some people want to look down at their feet to see which way people have gone, so they go the opposite direction. So it's very interesting to hear how people process information and what if they were presented with a challenge, how they would come to that answer.
That's brilliant.
So
Well, I'm curious what my answer means, but I guess that's a conversation for later on.
no, it's no. Again, it's your answer. There's no right or wrong, But it's just interesting to hear any of us that are in business. Some of us want less options. Some people want more options. And some people are a little more risk takers. So I think that's what the key is.
I appreciate you, man. I like being at a loss of words. You've got me introspective. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. No problem. But Ben, thanks very, very much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Continue to listen to That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?